He's back, baby. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Gabe, Dennis, MDV, and I, we are here to talk all things fitness. And it started off by this forced test that we put out. So Dennis wanted us to test 90 seconds of rowing. He wanted this test. And so the challenge was put out. And I got 56. And I don't think that's that great. I think it's good, not great. I mean, I was just in the garage with my son and Ashley, my wife. We were just sitting there. I was like, dude, these guys want me to do this 90 seconds. Let's just rock and roll. No pre-prep, no nothing. I think someone's going to get like 65. That's my assumption.
I appreciate how we completely ignored the fact that there was a segment for the end of the podcast, but all good. We can start with this. I'm glad we had that discussion.
I don't know what's going on. I'm just here trying to figure out what we're talking about. Because this was supposed to come up in the last 90 seconds of the podcast, not the first 90 seconds.
I don't know why we planned anything. Now, a lot of things I want to talk to you guys about today. And then at the end, we'll revisit what is going to be a recurring segment that'll be fun. Hopefully get some competitive juices going with you guys. But every week we'll have something that we'll all kind of talk about, and it'll be some fun challenges. So we'll revisit your 56 calories, Jay. But I think that a good segue into that and something that you wanted to talk about, Jason, because you said no pre-workout.
Pause for a second?
Yeah. That
was the smallest coffee cup I've ever seen in the hand of a big man. That's an espresso cup, right?
No, let's talk about it.
What is that thing, dude?
This is okay. All right.
That's like somewhere in between an espresso cup and a coffee mug.
So this is what I had this morning. And what, Gabe, you want to talk about pre-workout?
Yeah, pre-workout, because you were saying that when you hit that 90 second test, you were like, no pre-workout, no prep. So when there is pre-workout and prep, what does that look like for you?
Okay. All right. What I meant by no pre-workout is like, I didn't like think about it much. Like I was just like, all right, well, let's just go do it. But as far as a pre-workout is concerned, and in regards to the cup that I'm drinking out of, this is the Yeti espresso cup. And dude, I think it's absolutely incredible. It's a great size cup. Dude, I got my Breville espresso machine. I drop a shot or two in here, put a little bit of hot water. Sometimes I put some MCT powder and I am ready to rock, dude. Lately, I've been taking creatine every day, MCT powder every day. I've been eating 3 meals a day. I feel like I'm about to go run through a brick wall. Bottom line. It's a big deal for me to eat 3 meals a day, by the way.
It's a big move in the right direction. I'm curious how it actually goes once you do it for a while. But what's everyone else's pre-workout routine, drink of choice? Anything going down the chute, Den, before you get after it?
I've been a black coffee guy for as long as I can remember. Yep. No anything added to it. No additional supplements on top of that. I mean, I've tinkered with different things over the years, but I've landed on just a black coffee. Try to finish it like 45 minutes to a half hour before my workout usually. And that's it. Just try to have a fairly empty stomach, no matter what I'm doing.
I'm in the same boat as Dennis, except I'm usually sipping. I'm trying to drink a little bit less coffee here in 2025, but
boo.
Yeah, I know. I drink a lot of coffee though, Dennis. So like,
no, I know.
Pre-workout wise now, yeah, maybe a little bit of coffee, especially if it's an earlier workout in the day, like a 10 a.m. workout, something like that. I'll drink some coffee. But if we go back in the time machine, dude, does anybody remember Ripped Fuel?
The pill? Was that a pill?
No. This was the beverage.
Yeah, it was a drink, like a pre-made drink.
Dude.
Gross.
This thing put you on the fucking moon, dude. I remember going to Gold's Gym in Albany, New York, when I was a senior in college training. And this was 2005. So we are peak prime Globo Gym years, man. Like before CrossFit really took off. And they sold Ripped Fuel in a bunch of different flavors in the little cabinet before like you went into the gym.
They were gross.
And oh dude, your face just felt like it had ants crawling all over it.
Yeah.
It might not have been called it was something, or it was a beverage. It was definitely a beverage. It was not a pill.
It was pre-made. It was a pre-made beverage for sure.
Pre-made beverage.
I can remember the taste of it. Like as you're talking about it, I can.
It might not have been called Ripped Fuel. It might have been called something else.
It was something else. Was it Jack 3D?
Well, Jack 3D was another one. That was the supplement that the CrossFit New England team way back in the day, I believe, got popped for when they were DQ'd from the CrossFit Games because it was
It was Ripped Fuel, dude. It was definitely Ripped Fuel.
Was that
I
powder
know
you
it was
put-
Ripped Fuel. There was a drink. No. It was a pre-made drink. It was like there was a grape flavor. There was like a fruit punch flavor.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe this was only in New York, but
Yeah, we're a little older than Jay, so he doesn't remember. This is before his time.
all I know.
Ripped Force.
I know that one.
there it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's Ripped Force.
Yeah,
Ripped Force. Oh, that stuff will make your face crawl, dude.
dude. I when I was at the conventional gym, this is when I was in high school, maybe college. A buddy of mine had started a supplement like store, and I wanted to help him kind of share his supplements. His name was Justin. So this guy comes and he's giving away samples. And I want to say it was like Jack 3D, but it might have been another like really popular like pre-workout vascular like stimulator, like
The vasodilator.
like vasodilator. And like I'm trying to think of the name, but it was like a bright pink like color. Like it didn't look real, obviously. And so he's handing out samples. And in hindsight, like I was one who vouched for this guy, and like, you know, the owner was like, sure, whatever, if you want everybody to come. And I didn't think about it at the time. It was such a terrible idea to give out samples of pre-workout before these people went and did something if you're not used to it. And I just remember this 60-year-old guy, man, took this drink. Dude, like 10 minutes later, he comes up to the front desk and he's like, dude, I'm having a heart attack. And we had to call the ambulance. I mean, he was fine, but it was just.
Was it called like NO, like NOx?
Explode. Remember
NO Explode. NO Explode.
That was the other one.
Explode. That was it.
It was NO Explode.
Yeah,
And dude, I just remember looking at this guy and feeling so bad. Like, dude, man, never again. Never again.
He probably woke up the next morning with like the biggest erection of his life, though, because it was probably still flowing through his system.
If he woke up.
He was probably loving the next day, but at the time, he was
Just-
not doing good.
Handing out samples of nitric oxide.
Den, when I first met you and I first started CrossFit, I remember BioSteel being the thing. You guys remember when BCAAs were like,
Oh, yeah.
you couldn't work out and not take BCAAs and make gains. You
No,
weren't
yeah,
taking
totally.
BCAAs. You were completely just spinning your wheels. Has that been like generally accepted to be like one of the biggest wastes of money now, kind of in retrospect, or no?
Amino acids?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's probably
There's
research.
Bigger
that-
grips out there for sure.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was so widespread for a while. Everyone was on BCAAs.
I
BCAAs
got
was
something
like
that was
the
widespread.
Do you guys remember Lurong?
Oh,
Deer,
dude, deer
Velvet
antler?
Deer antler?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the biggest grift of all time.
Some baseball player, right? Like,
I remember Lou Ron.
Lurong.
yeah.
Dude,
Lou
we used to
Wrong.
call
No,
that
I
was
think it was
Lou Wright.
It was who was the big football player that was promoting it?
But that was like, it was a lot bigger on the East Coast, right? It was definitely a
It
lot
kind of
bigger.
came out of like Connecticut or somewhere around.
Yeah.
around us.
But
Dude,
At
how
least they
about
had
when,
sales reps.
Dude,
everyone
how
was
about
on
in the
Lou
early
Ron.
days of CrossFit? You talk about, Dennis, you're talking about black coffee, right? So full disclosure, I am drinking a black coffee right now. I don't always put MCT powder, but dude, you guys remember when Bulletproof became super popular and everywhere you went, you had coffee with like a huge chunk of butter and name the other, like, I just remember when that became really popular in CrossFit and everywhere I went, that was all that was being served. And boy, that could really mess your digestive system. Like if you're not used to that, man, it was not good.
And the oil on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But butter coffee and paleo muffins. And
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
In the porta potties.
Well, the baseline reasoning behind the MCT oil or the butter in the coffee apparently was to slow the digestion of the caffeine, right?
I think so. And like
That's the
mitigate any kind of like blood sugar response to it or cortisol response to it and kind of buffer that, I think, a little bit.
Well, and you get the MCT, like the natural, like from me, like it made me feel like a little bit fuller, right? Especially because of the butter. And you got the fats in there that gave you like this really, or like solid energy source. That was like, when I used to drink it, that was what I told myself at least. And even for the MCT powder, like, dude, I feel like a really solid energy. Maybe it's, I don't know. I like it. Shout out to Bubs.
I think some of this stuff is placebo effect too, but so
100%.
I didn't give my I drink coffee every day. I love a good cup of coffee, but I do like an actual pre-workout. I've done different brands. Right now, I mean, BPN makes a pretty solid product. I think that I personally like the itch and tingle of the beta alanine before I'm about to go hit like a hard bodybuilding session. So I still look for that in my pre-workout. But I think the biggest thing is like caffeine is 100% a performance enhancing substance. I think if you're not caffeinating before your workouts, you're definitely losing out. But I don't think anyone out there is. I think if anything, people are doing too much caffeine.
Who's the guy? Weren't you guys the guys who gave up coffee? When did you guys give up coffee? You gave up coffee, didn't you, Gabe?
I do like a month in a year, which I haven't decided what month I'm going to do this year, but I've done a month every year. Yeah. I think it resets, at least for me, like my sensitivity to it. Cause I definitely get to a point where like, you know, I don't feel anything from the coffee and I think it's just good. I did green tea for a while. But I don't think you necessarily have to.
So I've been experimenting with a couple of coffee alternatives because I had noted that I wanted to bring some of my coffee intake down a little bit. And there's a mushroom coffee, and there's a bunch of mushroom coffees out there, but this one has like cordyceps and lion's mane and all this other stuff in there. A lot of ones I can't pronounce, but it's called Everyday Dose. And of all the coffee alternatives that I've tried, Everyday Dose tastes the best and the closest analog to coffee that I've found. It's really, it's pretty enjoyable. So if you're looking to like come down off of just like the rush of caffeine, or, you know, you're looking to curtail it a little bit, Everyday Dose is solid.
Is that like kind of like mud water? Is that, you know, mud water became pretty popular, right?
Mud water has much more like chai and cacao in it, and it has an earthier taste. I really enjoy the taste of coffee, and Everyday Dose tastes like pretty close to coffee. Mud water. I think it does have a little bit of coffee ground in it.
Mud water is gross.
Dude, yeah, I never even
gross. It's gross. No one can convince me otherwise. It's gross.
Why not do decaf if the caffeine is the issue and you really enjoy coffee?
I think that there's some auxiliary benefit to having, like, I think it's like the adaptogen properties of some of these mushrooms, the anti-inflammatory properties of some of these. And if I'm going to drink coffee, to be honest, like, I want to drink real coffee. Like I really enjoy coffee a whole lot, and I understand decaf, but when I'm making it at home, I like going to the coffee shop, having the ritual, enjoying the cup of coffee, and then leaving. But what has helped me a little bit more too is actually bringing my own mug to the coffee shop. And after I'm done with that, like one mug, I'm usually like, okay, cool, that's good for the day. As opposed to bringing the Yeti tumbler, which is like 3 or 4 cups of coffee in it. Yeti, great products, but was promoting a little bit too much coffee drinking.
Yeah, all those cups are super big. Before we get off the pre-workout, I don't know if Dennis, you remember this story from the CrossFit Garden City days. We had a coach that was like super into like buying the like just not like a branded product, but I remember he would have like magnesium pills and caffeine pills, and everything was just like the actual ingredient because he was like super meticulous about like how much he's having of everything. And we had a member who, they were buddies, so he would like have some. What was the thing that he would have before? It was probably like beta alanine or something.
It was beta alanine.
And then, so he just went before class and reached into the coach's bag to grab some, what he thought was beta alanine. And you had to take like 6-7 capsules of that
10.
to get the dose. 10. So
10
Dennis clearly remembers the story.
I remember the story.
10 capsules. And then it ended up being the ones that were caffeine, like pure caffeine pills.
Yeah, Java Stim, they were called.
Yeah.
Java Stim. They were pure, like one capsule was a cup of, like the equivalent of a cup of coffee. And
what happened?
He took 10 of them down.
So what happened? How long did it kick in?
I forget if he had to go to the hospital.
No, his wife was a nurse, so that she was like comfortable like monitoring all day. But I remember I wasn't there, but I remember the story just the day after about how everyone started realizing something was wrong, like at the whiteboard brief, because he just like went like just completely. He was like something
turned white.
Yeah, like turned completely white. And the coach, who was the one coaching the class, was like, "Dude, like what happened?" He's like, I took I grabbed some of your beta alanine pills, and it's like, wait, what pills did you grab? That's when they realized that he had all this caffeine. But man,
like 2,000 milligrams of caffeine. in one inhale.
Scary stuff.
Have you guys ever seen the YouTube video of the police officer who had confiscated the pot brownies, and then him and his wife ate the pot brownies, and then they have to call 911 because they are afraid that they overdosed on marijuana?
Oh, no.
Hilarious, dude. It's hilarious. He calls 911. He's like, time is going really, 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 really slow. And then he transitions. He's like, we're dying. I think we're dead. And the news anchors who are playing it, they can't keep a straight face, and it cuts back to them and they're cracking up.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty funny.
I haven't seen it. No.
So moving on from the pre-workout. So next thing, warm-ups, right? So you take your pre-workout, coffee for most of you. What's everyone doing for warm-ups? And what is I think that this is an interesting topic to hear what you guys are doing, but I think it's also a really valuable thing for people listening. I know, Jay, we've talked about it a bunch, and I think a lot of people waste a lot of time with the warm-up, overcomplicate the warm-up, but I'm curious what you guys are doing with your training now to kind of get ready. And I know it's different for everyone, like if you have dealing with something specific, whether it's like an injury or pain, that might look different than, hey, I'm feeling good, I'm just ready to get after it. So Den, what are you doing to warm up these days?
I've always been a minimalist when it comes to warming up. Whatever movements we're doing that day in the workout, whatever I'm doing to start with, I'll start with some light sets of it and pretty much start. I keep it super, super simple. I think, like you said, I think there's value in warm-ups for sure, depending upon the situation, depending upon what you're doing. But it's like, if you have to warm up for 30 minutes before you work out, like just choose different movements in your workout. You're doing something wrong with your exercise selection if you have to warm up that aggressively before you actually do them. So yeah, I keep it super simple. I don't do any kind of like real specific corrective work or mobility work. Warm up some reps of the movements, depending upon how hard the workout's going to be and how heavy it's going to be. That'll determine kind of the extent of the warm up. But after that, I just hit it.
Jay, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about it through that lens, Dennis. Like, if you have to warm up extensively so much for the weights that are in the workout, maybe it's too heavy. Is that what that's kind of like the theory there?
No,
I'm just curious. Just kind of going back to what you were saying.
Not so much the weight, but if I feel like I need to warm up extensively just to perform a movement, just to be able to get into the positions that the movement's going to require, not necessarily the loading involved with it. That certainly could be a factor too, but it's kind of, and if performing that movement is important to you and necessary for whatever reason, then sure, go ahead. But outside of that, it's kind of like, well, why don't I just pick a movement that's a better fit for me, that I don't need to prepare for so heavily just to be able to perform it.
Yeah. When I think about that, I think about a pistol, right? Like a pistol squat for me, I have to spend like an hour and a half getting my ankles ready. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but I just would prefer just not to do it anymore. Right. But that's a good example. I think for me, Gabe, what's really important is if I'm back squatting, if I'm squatting in any way, I have to spend a little bit of time opening up my ankles and my hips. I have to stay down in those positions and open it up. But in general, like this morning, for example, I had a group of guys and we just got on the bikes. We started getting after it. As long as I get my heart rate elevated, as long as I get a little bit sweaty, and as long as I can work through holding a squat position and opening up my hamstrings and my hips, I'm good. My shoulders are pretty fine. It's my hips that take a little bit of time to warm up. And so I just got to get there. Now for jiu-jitsu, I take a lot longer. So jiu-jitsu, I won't roll jiu-jitsu unless I'm like really, really warm. And so that'll take me quite a while. But for fitness, it's a little bit different for me.
Quite a while, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like 30 minutes.
For jiu-jitsu? I'd say if I haven't been moving for at least 20 minutes, I won't do anything hard in jiu-jitsu. So like, meaning like I might go there.
You're talking about live rolling. That's almost right. 100%, close to 100%, 90% live rolling.
Yeah, it'll take me at least 20 to 30 minutes to get to 100% rolls, even 90% rolls. Because what'll normally happen is I'll start off, I'll be warming up, I'll be doing some dynamic type stuff. And for me, like, dude, I have super tight quads and there's a bunch of positions in jiu-jitsu that you get into that are like really compromising. So being prepared for that is really important for me. So I'll go through the whole, like if I'm in a class environment, even after the class, then I'll start off with like 2 flow rolls, which are each like 6 minutes. So it'll take me 12 more minutes. And then after 12 more minutes, then I'll do one at like 70%. And then I'll finally start ramping it up. I just found for jiu-jitsu, if I go too quick, too fast, like yesterday I was grappling with this guy and he came right into class, no warm up, no nothing. We went at it hard. And he's like, oh, my shoulder. It's like, yeah, dude, you went from 0 to 100. Like we got to slowly ramp this thing up. And that's what I found about jiu-jitsu.
I think it's the equivalent though in training. Like if you were going to max out your back squat, you wouldn't just put 400 pounds on the bar, right? You would gradually build up, and you're not necessarily doing anything that specific outside of just gradually increasing the weight on the bar in the back squat to warm up for it. So I don't think it's that much different, right?
Yeah,
like you're when you're preparing for the hard rolls in jiu-jitsu, you're rolling, right? Just at a lower intensity, more or less.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a good parallel, right? It's like you're going for a heavy back squat, you're going to kind of work your way up. In jiu-jitsu, the reason why it's so important to kind of flow into it is that there's just so many patterns. And so working through those positions, opening up different ways is important for me. And it also helps alleviate some of my cramping too. If I'm warmed up well and I'm hydrated well, I won't cramp as much doing jiu-jitsu.
I think the intensity and the length of the effort really in general will dictate the type of warm-up and obviously the preference of the athlete. But like overall, the intensity and the length of the effort pretty much should dictate your warm-up, right? So if you're looking at something where it's a 2 to 3 minute, 100% max effort type of event or workout, your warm-up for that theoretically should be longer than the effort in order to get yourself in a position to perform at max output for 2 to 3 minutes, whatever that is, right? So if you're going to do this 90-second row sprint, that we talked about a little bit at the beginning, that we'll talk about a lot at the end. I think that if you wanted to maximize your output there, having a warm-up that's a little bit that's longer than that gets you in the best position, whether it's through building intervals or making sure that like your prime motor patterns are built up for that, is a smart move. Now, if you don't really care about your score and you're just going to get after it, you could probably do with a little bit of a shorter warm-up to get into that. But if you're going to do like a 30 or 40-minute workout, you don't necessarily need a 30 or 40-minute warm-up for that, as long as you're smart in the way that you're approaching that effort, right? So you do what you need to do to warm up. I would tend to keep it a lot shorter in that regard, a few minutes and maybe just kind of getting the blood flowing, checking out the motor patterns, making sure that the weights are all right. But then in the first 5 minutes of that effort, I'm still in my own mind warming up for this effort a little bit and thinking about, okay, can I continue this pace? Or maybe I'm going to bring the pace up a little bit, sustain it across 40 minutes like this. So in general, that's kind of my approach to warm-ups, is like I'm looking at what type of workout it is, what's my intention for the intensity of the workout, what's the length of the workout, and then kind of rolling right into it. But if I'm doing a more bodybuilding style of workout, I'm generally not warming up a whole lot for that. I might start off with a few sets at lower loads and then move into working sets. But bodybuilding is a little bit of a different approach for me than a traditional like CrossFit or Metcon type of workout.
Yeah, super different. It's one of the things I like about it. And, mostly what I do is what we put out in our Flex program. And for that stuff, I'm literally doing like a set of 12 or 10 with something really light, then like a set of like 4 or 5 until I like feel like, all right, this is going to be a good working weight. And that's the nice thing too, is like once you've repeated the same session a couple times, you don't even really need that. Like you kind of know what that working set is going to be. And then at least for me, if it's 3 or 4 sets of something, there's still like some built-in warm up to the first 2. And I'm always just trying to like, the last one is really the only like all out effort. But it's nice because I feel like you save a lot of time not having to think too much about the warm up, because I get in there and I'm, in working sets within like 3 or 4 minutes of getting in there. It's one of the many reasons that I like training this way now. Because I feel like back in the CrossFit days, I think another thing too is like the anxiety, and this is completely a me issue, the anxiety of like the workout and the time and the score. Like you're almost like dragging your feet in the warm up because you're like, I don't want to start, because then you like go. It's just so much easier from like a psychological standpoint. Just go in there. I'm going to get a pump. I'm going to feel good. I'm just going to get right to it. If I can't match my weight next week, it's kind of whatever. And I know that that's not optimal for hypertrophy, and like progressive overload is important, but like I'm at a point now, especially with the running or not running, the biking that I'm doing in the morning, because I'm a little banged up, that like I'm not pushing the strength training or the hypertrophy training that much. It's more of like a, outlet and a maintenance phase. So for that, warm up's definitely not a big thing. And then for running, when I was running, the coach that I work with always programmed a 2-mile warm up run and some strides, and that seemed to be like perfect. And granted, yes, I'm doing a lot.
And then you're done for the day, right?
That's the warm up.
Hey,
but,
Gabe,
the one thing that I think I would suggest anyone out there that's trying to get into running that I hadn't really done before I started working with a coach either is doing some strides before doing anything. So not just going from like an easy warm up to whether you're going to do repeats or some sort of tempo run, but just literally like 20-second efforts at, I would say like an RP7, RP8 to like a full all out sprint, something that's a lot faster than what you're about to run, but really kind of like just gets you going, gets the RPMs of the engine moving a little bit, was something I hadn't done before. And you do the warm up, you do that, and you feel like ready to rock and roll. So
when you say strides, just to clarify, are you talking about a specific technique, like almost like a, or are you talking about just speeding it up? Are you talking about like striding, or are you talking about just like sprinting and then ramping up the RPs?
Yeah, it's just like the vernacular in the running space for like what's not a sprint. It's short of a sprint. It's like a 20-second, 100-meter like RP7, RP8 effort, and you want to do like literally just 2 or 3 of those before a workout. And we program this into the hybrid program that we have too. And then we end some of the easy runs with like 4 or 6 of those, so that you're also getting some work on like faster turnover, even on the days where it's really just meant to be an easy day. Cause you're never going to accumulate so much like the purpose of those isn't to do like sprint work or go crazy. It's just to kind of like, also train your feet, your legs, everything to move a little quicker, especially on the days where you're just building aerobic capacity and going pretty easy the whole time.
Yeah. I did the flex workout with incline bench and DBs and some other stuff today. And I approached it the same way you're talking about, right? It's just a different mindset. Like, I'm on the bike and then I just basically get in the sets. I think for bodybuilding, it's a little bit different. One thing I will say for anybody who's like actually trying to take like CrossFit and fitness competition seriously, it is a completely different mindset. So as long as I just want to make sure that I'm like clarifying that for me, I'm on a time crunch. I want to be able to get in some fitness, get stronger, maintain my capacity and move on. If I was competing, I would warm up with the sole focus on how do I get my body, mind prepared to absolutely demolish that event. Like it's a completely different approach. I would have the same warm up. So mentally I'm connecting with my body. My body is getting primed. Then I would do a little bit more skill specific. And then I would definitely want to get the heart rate elevated before the event to make sure that I was already primed and ready before that event started. So again, completely different mindset. If you're looking to compete in a sport of CrossFit or fitness, you got to make sure you're doing whatever you can to put yourself in the best position to win. Whereas here, it's like, how do I get my body ready to, attack a workout in a different mindset? So just want to make sure I acknowledge that.
Let me ask you guys a question, because it seems like the general consensus that we're all pretty, no one here is saying, hey, I have this super specific warm up and I need to do all these like activation, corrective mobility exercise, stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people out there that, have either been told or like feel like, hey, this is the thing that's going to prevent me from getting injured, prevent me from getting bagged up. Like how much validity is there to that? Like is a very proper methodical warm up that's like, activating the glutes and like getting your, X firing, like, is that stuff important to prevent injury and maximize performance? And then like on a funnier side note, I always remember people that like come into class late and couldn't care less about the warm up. The open comes around and everyone is there 30 minutes before doing glute activation stuff with the band. Always, like every year, like clockwork. It's like, that's the time of the year where all of a sudden everyone's, super methodical about their warm up. So I don't know, how much validity is there to that?
I think some of this is athlete dependent. I think certain people need a little bit more, whether that's mentally or physically, they need a little bit more to put themselves in the best position to go and tackle a workout. And if you have the time and you want to do it and you feel better about doing it, then you should do it, I think. But one of the things that I think is a little bit counterintuitive to me is when people go, I don't have enough time to warm up, so I'm not going to work out. And I think that there's a little bit of like maybe some mixed signaling there, or like some things to think about in terms of that, where it's like, you don't always need the perfect warm up to get a great workout. It might not be the most intense workout you've ever done in your life, but I would sacrifice a perfect warm up for just getting something done that day where I'm moving my body and feel good about it at the end. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to do something injurious. If you know your body, like if you need to do certain things to feel good about doing a heavy lift, do those things. But maybe it's not the day to lift that heavy if you don't have the opportunity to do those things. So I guess long story short, man, is like, I know that some people do a lot of regimented warming up. And I do a good amount of mobility and stretching. I do more mobility and stretching now than I probably have ever done. But I do that more as like down regulation at the end of the day, spending time in certain long static positions. I don't do that pre-workout. Pre-workout, I'm looking to increase my core body temperature. I'm looking to move through an appropriate range of motion. And then maybe I'm looking to transfer some skills from my warm-up into my workout. But that's generally how I look at pre-workout warming up. I don't know if that fully answered the question, but that's kind of like where my mind is at on this. I think a lot of people might put a roadblock in front of themselves and say, I don't have enough time to do the perfect warm up, so I'm not going to do my workout. And I think that that's a little bit, I would challenge that thought process a little bit. I'd say maybe take a little bit of pressure off of yourself with doing the perfect warm up. Just get warm a little bit and maybe do a less intense workout.
Yeah, I'd venture to say that the benefit of having some kind of specific warm up that you have to do before your workout, or like specific drills, activation work, corrective stuff, I would say the benefit of that is mostly psychological for people rather than having any kind of real tangible physical benefit in terms of improving their performance or preventing injury. I think you'd be hard pressed to find evidence, like real scientific evidence that supports the idea that you have to do X, Y, Z in order to mitigate the risk of injury, improve performance, outside of just what makes you feel psychologically and physically prepared to do what you're about to do. So yeah, I think most of that benefit comes just in terms of what it does for you psychologically.
Dude, to your point, Dennis, I had Kendrick Ferris, two-time Olympian, I want to say, working with me on my Olympic lifting. This is years ago. And I remember he was like, bro, before you lift, like you got to do some bird dogs, right? We were doing like these bird dogs. And after that, I was convinced that if I didn't do these bird dogs, I wasn't prepared to lift. And dude, right, wrong, or indifferent, it put me in the right state of mind. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like for me, I had a very specific warm-up that I would do before every single event, because mentally and physically it was putting me in a position that I felt like was going to win. Then I would do something specific like the bird dogs or like whatever that was coming up, maybe a rope climb. But I think we're getting a little bit lost. I don't think you need to be doing like, banded distraction work beforehand, unless you're really trying to like compete at the highest level or mentally it puts you in a better position. I think you'd be getting that stuff after, or if that's inhibiting. If you have plenty of time, do whatever you want to do, right? But if you have limited time, I think you just got to start slow and then ramp your workout up, and you could be done in 30 minutes.
Yeah. I wish I saw you backstage at the CrossFit Games doing bird dogs.
Bro, dude,
well, I mean, it just all depends on the context, right? It all depends on the context. If you're going to go out there and try and PR your fucking snatch or your clean and jerk, man, you might have to do some bird dogs to open up your hips to get yourself in a position to do that. But you're going to go swing a fucking 53-pound kettlebell, man. Like, you probably don't have to do bird dogs for that. Like, there's just such a huge difference between like what we're talking about in terms of task.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, but Kendrick, no, but yeah. To your point though, like it did. I feel like it made a difference for me, and I would still like go through like a full motion. Like, bro, I would muscle snatch, power snatch, full snatch. It would take me like 90 minutes just to get to like my higher weights, and I would have very specific things because that for me was a priority at the time, right? I was trying to snatch the heaviest I could, not trying to just be capable outside the gym. You know what I mean? Sure. So it's just a different focus.
That's kind of like my point earlier. Like if the event for the snatch and the clean and jerk is like a 3-second event with your max intensity max loading, max focus involved in that. So there's no doubt in my mind that 99.9% of the competitors who you see at a high level who are trying to PR those lifts on the world's biggest stage are warming up for 90 minutes to get ready for that. Because we're talking about insane amounts of weight for those people, even for them at that point. So it does make a lot of sense to me. For the average Joe out there who's going to go out and just trying to be like a better human being, better dad, better partner, like trying to get ripped with their shirt off, there's a big difference there.
I think the biggest point that MDV you made that's like really important to hammer home is the fact that I know for a fact many people listening, many people that follow our training programs are short on time. It's the biggest thing. Like I get multiple emails to the Train Hard inbox every day about, hey, your programs are 5 days a week. What's your suggestion? Because I only have 3 days. I only have 4 days, right? Big question that we get all the time. And if you do have, first of all, you can get incredible results, even if you're following either of the programs, anything 3 days a week. But if you're that limited on time, you got to make the most bang for your buck on those 3 sessions you have. And if you're spending 20 minutes of the 60 minutes that you have 3 days a week on corrective stuff, I think that even if it psychologically makes you feel like you're more prepped, I think that it's something at least worth revisiting or considering. And how can you get more actual beneficial work done during that time so that you're not skipping anything on the back end, right? You're not like, oh, well, I'm just going to do the strength piece, or I'm only going to do 3 sets of the flex stuff because I'm spending all the time on the front end. Like you're much more beneficial to prioritize the actual work than the warm up for the work. Cause I know a lot of people don't have time.
Yeah. Well, so I like this topic a lot. So if you only had 1 hour, 3 days a week, and you wanted to utilize that to the max extent to get the best results out of a fitness program, I think you're spot on. I wouldn't prioritize warming up as much. I would prioritize doing a little bit of something to get myself primed for the session that's coming up. I'd be smart about how I'm going to progress the weights in those sessions or progress the intensity of those sessions over time, thinking about, hey, I'm making some incremental gains here in the amount of loading, the amount of volume, the amount of intensity. But then, outside of those 3 hours that you have, the other days, and those days in particular too, I'd be focusing very heavily on my nutrition. I'd be making sure that I'm prioritizing protein, getting my 3 meals in a day for sure. Like you have to have those other variables working in your favor if you're training only 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day, 3 times a week. Then the other thing there, man, is making sure that like you find the time, if you have to do the other stuff that puts you in a better position for those days. So like if you are watching TV at night for X many minutes, can you utilize that time to stretch? Can you utilize that time to do some self-activation, some recovery, some lacrosse ball work? Or maybe there's also time that you can find to get in a 20-minute echo bike or a 20-minute C2 bike or a 20-minute walk. Like I think making sure that, okay, cool, my schedule's really busy. I can only get in the gym one hour 3 times a week. There's probably some other times in there on those other days that you're able to get some non-exercise movement in. You're able to walk for 20 minutes. You can substitute sitting on the couch for sitting on the bike. You can substitute sitting on the couch for using the foam roller. That's how I would try to look at that equation if I was trying to maximize only 3 hours a week. You have to make some puts and takes on the other days.
Yeah, and it compounds, right? It compounds like crazy, dude. Like the foam roller by the TV or the couch stretch, watching TV, or riding the C2 bike every morning for 20 minutes or going out for a walk. Boom, it just compounds. And all of a sudden you look at your total amount of work throughout the week and dude, it's looking pretty solid.
Non-exercise movement, I think, is one of the things that a lot of people in the fitness community discounted for a long time. I think it's caught on a lot more with people talking about daily steps, daily movement, non-exercise movement. But if you just think about it at a base level, man, like you will burn more calories. Your body will respond better to movement, even if you're just getting that super low intensity movement in every single day. Anything's better than being sedentary, essentially.
Yeah. And that's where I think something like a step count is useful for some people. I know that a lot of people just needs to be black and white. And
it's just an arbitrary number though. 10,000 steps is just arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. The history of it is actually, it was a marketing campaign for a pedometer out of Japan. Funny side story, but it still doesn't discount the fact that for a lot of people that is valuable. Like, hey, if you can hit 8,000 steps a day, you're in a much better place than the person that maybe is spending more time in the gym, but is just completely sedentary the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's valuable as like a benchmark motivating factor for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to get my steps in because I'm trying to get 10,000 steps a day. If you don't have a step counter, if you're not into like looking at your Apple Watch and shit like this, like just go out and walk for 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day. And it can be accumulated walking. It doesn't need to be all at once. I like doing it all at once. I like having all of that and then doing multiple times per day where I walk. But just get out and walk. Just get up off the couch and walk. Do stretching or something. All those things help.
Dennis, if you had someone ask you, hey, love force, following it, only have 3 days, what's your suggestion for them?
I would try to do one of the strength days. I would try to do one of the aerobic days and one of the anaerobic days. Yeah, just to get a good little blend of everything, kind of hit the full spectrum.
Because the strength days are going to be full body the way that you do it, right?
Yep.
So you're hitting everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
Easy
I've liked
as
I've liked those. This is we're just finishing up the testing week. I can't get myself to do another. I did a mile like a couple weeks ago. I can't get myself to go out and do another mile. You already
tested it.
I did all the other tests. I did everything else, but that one I did not do. So
but you did,
dude. You know what's weird, man? The row and burpees over a dumbbell felt harder to me than a workout we have called Death Row, which is 20 cal row, 15 burpees, EMOM for 20 minutes. I don't know what it was. I pretty much got similar scores as if I was holding an EMOM, but jumping over the dumbbell, like it got really hard for me.
Game changer.
It's a big difference in that workout, Jay. Huge difference in that workout. So there's a couple of different versions of this workout that have floated around the CrossFit community. We have the Death Row workout, which is 20 calories on the rower for gentlemen in the first minute, and then 15 burpees on the second minute. And you try to complete 10 rounds of that for 20 minutes total. There's a version of that workout where you burpee over the rower, and it is a complete game changer in terms of making the workout more difficult. It is night and day different, leaving the ground for 6 to 8 inches or whatever it is, the height of the rower, maybe even more than that. Just the explosive capability that you need to employ there, it just tires you so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was the inspiration for the test.
Is that okay? The dumbbell. Okay.
Well, I'm saying the workout, the Death Row workout, that was.
Oh, the Death Row was the inspiration.
That was the inspiration for that test. Yeah. Originally, I was going to just make that the test, but it's kind of like if you get to 20 minutes, it's kind of like, well, how do you improve upon that? Right. Like, so it had to be something like that you could actually measure and improve upon. So that I just condensed it into just eliminating the EMOM format.
So what is it exactly? 20 minute
AMRAP, 20 calories for gentlemen, 15 for ladies, and 15 burpees over the dumbbell with just a lateral hop.
Yeah. And like, so
you came close to finishing the 10 full rounds, right?
That's right. So full disclosure, we always talk about this.
Boy.
I wasn't feeling great. I'd had a long night, whatever. But yeah.
Did you warm up? Did you warm up for it?
Did you do some glute activation?
I think Caden and I grappled beforehand. So we were, I don't know. I was warm-ish, but yeah, dude, 20 cals and then over the dumbbell. But it got hard. I ended up getting back to the dumbbell, and I didn't finish the 15 dumbbell burpees over the dumbbell. I think I got like 4 or 5. So I did not complete the 20 round or the 10 rounds of each. It's interesting. I was with the men's club on Sunday, and one of the guys there, he's a police officer, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, man, what is the average call time in your city for the police?" And he said 4 minutes. And it was just so like perfect, because to finish off the session, we did 5 minutes of 15 burpees every minute on the minute for 5 minutes. We've been doing this for months and months and months. But to hear that the call time was 4 minutes, it was like a really powerful reason to be able to do burpees for at least 4 to 5 minutes. Because if you have to wait 4 minutes minimum or on average for a police officer to come and help, well, Anyways, burpees are a great test, in my opinion, to see if you can move under stress. And doing 15 every minute on the minute for 5 minutes is the goal minimum. And this is a good gateway into that, right? Adding in the rower.
Mm-hmm. I gotta ask you, man, how does that connect to the call time for a police officer? It connects for me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. To be honest with you, it makes no sense to me, the connection you just tried to make between doing burpees on the minute and a 4-minute call time for the police officer.
I understood. I understood.
Here's the connection?
I think maybe I'm biased because I spend so much time with law enforcement, but if you have a gentleman, and I've seen this time and time again, because every week I see this, who does 2 minutes of burpees and is literally dying on the floor, gasping for air. And you're saying to yourself, wait, if you call 911 and you have to run, you have to do something physical. And if the average call time is 4 minutes, but yet you can't do even like casual pace burpees for 4 minutes, how can you possibly, if you needed to fight in some way, shape, or form, how can you wait 4 minutes? That's a
whole different story, Jay. Like that, the average call for 911 for police assistance, you probably have to keep your cool more than anything else before employing like your fight or flight system.
No, I think he's referring to the person that called the police.
That's what I'm saying.
That is under duress. It's not the officer.
So you're calling 911 and you're saying, I got to run? Like, no.
What I'm saying is that,
and
let's just say you had to call 911.
Calm yourself down and handle the situation. I don't understand what 4 minutes of burpees has to do with anything.
I love this conversation.
To call 911. It makes no sense.
Here's the reason. So now I'm at a point, because I do this burpee test every week, where I can literally do 15 burpees on the minute and have a full conversation. So that means if I was on the phone and I had to physically do something, run, jump, grab my family, I could be more composed because I've been exposed to this challenging thing, right? And using burpees as a stimulus. If I had to call the police and I had to do anything, even if just stand there, but my heart rate's jacked and I haven't been exposed to it, I'm be less susceptible to be able to handle that situation well. That's the debate.
I think it's a loose connection at best. At best, you're loosely connecting this here, man. I do think there's the problem being out of shape. Yeah, for sure. Don't be out of shape.
I think there's something to be said though about that 4 to 5 minute time domain, both for first responders and just for anyone in general. I feel like that's a sweet spot for if shit were to hit the fan, that's when you would want to be able to perform at your highest, it feels like, because it doesn't feel like you're going to be doing something for like a really long time. And, you don't necessarily just want to be able to run a 100-meter dash. That's what I think about with
an NBV. Like I'm probably jaded and biased here because I've seen firsthand people doing burpees for 2 minutes and literally baking and sizzling on the ground. And you're like, wait, what if there's something that's happening? You know what I mean? So I'm totally jaded. I
understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying completely. But I don't see the connection between doing 4 minutes worth of burpees and the average call time being 4 minutes and that being like a cool, like, oh, you're prepared because you can do 4 minutes worth of burpees now. No, like fuck that. You're not prepared at all.
On that note,
it's just a funny one for me, Jay. You love the burpee test. I like doing burpees too. It's the number one test of fitness for Jason is the burpee test.
100%, because I've seen the correlation the best with that and jiu-jitsu and that and other stuff. Now, granted, obviously there's so many reasons why you'd call the police, obviously, right? But if someone could do burpees 15 a minute every minute and stay super composed, super relaxed, get to a point where they could just do it and not even have to worry about it because they could learn to control their breath, I think that'll transfer over in a bunch of other areas.
Fully prepared for a home invasion if that happens. As long as you can do burpees, you're good.
Hey, you're better off.
I'm just messing with you right now.
On that note,
the team fired up.
We're in the last 10 minutes of the episode, and we want to start this segment that we'll have every single week. So the segment is going to hopefully get the competitive juices flowing with this group of four here. But every week we'll have a physical challenge, and everyone's going to do it. We'll talk the week before about like maybe a little bit of strategy, how we're doing it, and then we'll share how it went the next week and see who top dog is. Not that it matters. It's not a competition, but also
hang from a pull-up bar.
Yeah.
I can think of one.
That was just a workout on CrossFit.com.
What?
Hang from?
Yep, 6 minutes, hang from a pull-up bar. You had to accumulate 6 minutes, and then every time you broke, you had to do.
Oh, I did see that.
30 something double unders and V-ups or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I did see that. Grip strength, man, super important. But no, so this first week, it's going to be one of the tests that we have going on this week for Force. So this is the week that we're recording, not the week that it's coming out. So we're in the week of January 6th. We're testing a bunch of really cool tests, test 5 areas of capacity on the Force program. This is one of them for anaerobic power. Dennis came up with it. It is 90 seconds max effort, either on the assault bike or the rower. So just one time, 90 seconds, max effort. How many calories are you getting? Jason already did it. That's what he was so excited to talk about at the beginning of the podcast. Got 56 calories. And you were saying you think that that's like middle of the road?
Fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. I also want to make sure that if you were talking about bikes, all bikes have different calorie counters. So just be aware. If you're on an Echo bike, it's much different from the assault bike. If you're on an assault bike, there's different types of assault bikes. If you're on a C2 bike, that's different too. So I think just to put them in order, C2 rower is like pretty straightforward, right? That's like the gold standard. Rogue does have one that just came out, but I think it's pretty similar calorie. But if you're on an Echo bike, that's going to be really hard to accumulate calories compared to an assault bike. So just wanted to put that out there. I think 56 is fine. I don't know if I did it again. I think I could do 60, maybe more. I don't know. I was kind of like, but maybe that was the right environment for me to do it in. I was like, hey, Ashley, can you just film me real quick, do this? And me and Kate were in the garage working out, and I just did it. Maybe that was the perfect, because I didn't like get overly anxious about it. I just went for it.
What was your approach? Did you like just come out absolutely red hot and just try to hold on for dear life?
No, I took like really nice long strides on the rower, like pulling up to my chin, which I normally don't, right? But on this one, just like super long strides. I had the damper at 8.5, 9, because I knew, because normally if I'm going all out, I'm at a 10. So this like 8.5, 9, super long strides. And I think at the 1 minute mark, I was probably at, I don't know, 35, 40 calories, whatever it was. I can't remember. And then I picked it up after a minute. I ramped it up for the last 30 seconds. That was my technique.
And 90 seconds, are you leaving?
Quick math is like 20 calories per 30 seconds to get to 60, right? Yes. And then you have the built up period within the first few strokes in which you're not really accumulating as many calories as when you're consistently rowing at that RPM. So, or SPM. It's tough.
It's a big score.
All right. So I'm going back thinking to like the energy system graphs from, the level 3 handbook. For 90 seconds, are you better off coming out like guns blazing and trying to hold on? Like, are you benefiting anything from pacing it at all? Or are you leaving something on the table? Theoretically. I mean, a lot of this is like, what do you have between the ears? I get that 100%. Right.
Yeah.
But like theoretically.
Think about like a 400. Okay. Think about a 400 meter run. How would you approach that? Right. Would you literally sprint from the get-go, or would you run very fast and then finish out strong? You'd run very fast. And this is even a little bit longer than that, right? Because this is even a longer time domain.
Yeah. The difference there, like if I were to run around that time domain, the difference there is I think that with something like the rower or the bike, you can almost get more calories like banked by having a lot more power. I feel like if you sprint it all out to start at 400, there's only so fast you can go. Like there's only so many meters you can accumulate. Does that make sense? Like it's almost like not worth like coming out all out, because you're not going to get that much further, versus like, I do think that on a rower or on an assault bike, you can come out literally 100% guns blazing. Just the way the machines are calibrated, you can just get more get more of the thing.
If I was riding the bike, I'd go all out.
What's the world record 400 meter run?
Oh,
Lizzo
probably faster than any of us could ever guess.
I'd say 40
seconds.
But some of this depends on the conditioning of the athlete, right? Like, so Gabe, if you're coming out and you're doing the max 30 seconds, but you don't have anything in the tank after that, and your legs are just dead, like that's not the best strategy for you. If Michael Johnson, look at this.
I was close.
43 seconds.
So
43 seconds.
It's fucking insane,
fast.
dude.
I mean, that's less than 11 seconds per 100 meter, right?
That's so fast.
And what's the world record 100 is 9,
like
9.6,
9.8 or something. Yeah.
And then the world record mile is they broke 4, right? 4 minute. mile has been broken.
By a lot of people now.
By a lot. Yeah. That's crazy.
Right.
I guess the real question is, how far can you row before the police get there, right? Like that.
Good callback. Good callback. Fantastic.
Well, I think at least when you first test it, I think you just go all out. I think you go all out from the get-go. I mean, theoretically, you have like 10 seconds of like free energy where you're just tapping your ATP stores before you kick into any kind of like lactic acid production or anything like that. So I think you want to take advantage of that as much as you can. So come out with like a really hot start and then just hold on for dear life. And yeah, like the next time you do it, you could then kind of game it based upon what you got, what your score was. You can kind of figure out what you need to get to by certain benchmarks within those 90 seconds to be able to beat the score. But I think initially you just got to go, you just got to like burn it down from the opening bell and see if you can hold on. That's the way to approach a test.
Yeah. I think the thought process in here, if you're a little bit more involved in your training mindset, is like, how close can you get to absolutely wrecking yourself without wrecking yourself in this 90 seconds? That's where you'll find the best possible score. But if you've never gotten to that point where you're completely exhausted within 90 seconds, it's a cool test between the ears to see like, how long can I hold my max effort capacity? And what does the drop off feel like? And when does the drop off happen?
I wish I would have seen how many meters I did. I just looked at the video. I had it on calories. I didn't have it on, I had it on calories. I wish I would have had it on the setting that had calories and meters. That would.
You can go back to the memory.
Go back to the memory and check it out.
Yeah, it'll
show the effort.
Dan, I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
When you said that, the way to test it is, come out, guns blazing, see how you hold on. And then maybe when you retest it, like game it a little bit. But then aren't you missing a little bit of like the objectivity of like, did I improve my anaerobic power? Maybe with this test specifically, it doesn't apply so much. But I know that for like the open, for example, and repeating those workouts, once you learn it, you're almost like bound to improve as long as you're not sore and completely, destroyed. Is there a little bit of that you want to avoid and instead suggest like, hey, when we do this in 12 weeks, do the same approach, like guns blazing and try and hold on?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that you should try to game it. I'm saying that you could potentially.
Got it. Okay.
Based around the fact that you already know your previous score.
Good clarity.
Yeah, you'd want to avoid that.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know if someone watched me. I mean, I have the full video. I don't know if someone would say I went out 100%. I mean, I didn't.
I don't think you did. I saw the video. I don't think you did.
Yeah, I went out.
You have to retest it with that approach. Is I think the conclusion here.
With the go out like
like retest it with like burn the house down and then just try and like hold on.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because if you were able to like go faster in the final 30 seconds than you did for the first minute, then you definitely didn't burn it down at the start.
What did you feel like immediately after? Like, did you get off the rower and like collapse, or were you breathing, or you were chilling?
I hit it hard, but not like, I hit it hard, but not like, on the ground, baking and sizzling too much, definitely got my heart rate up though.
One of the absolute worst things that we ever did in training when we were at CrossFit New England was the 2-minute assault bike test.
Oh,
that was absolutely horrendous.
The worst.
So there's my pace right there, Dennis. You can see it.
You should be ripping that harder.
Oh,
I mean, but like, strokes per minute doesn't necessarily indicate that you're going faster, right? I mean, like you're pulling so hard. I mean, you're holding a 2000. You're putting a lot of horsepower into each stroke, so that's going to depend. Like the speed of the the stroke rate isn't necessarily indicative of how hard you're pushing yourself or how fast you're going, right?
No, not indicative. But if he's getting more strokes in at that same level, at that same kind of power output within the time period, he's going to be gaining more calories, right? Like,
of course, but can you hold that same output at a faster?
That's the question.
That's the question.
He didn't look completely uncomfortable there. I mean, at the end, he was breathing and still holding on to the oar.
He just got up and walked away.
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna test it tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna be thinking about the last scene in Boys on a Boat where the coxswain starts yelling 40. Oh man, dude, I saw that movie and I was ready to like run out of the theater.
Dude, read the book.
I know. I got to read the book.
Awesome.
The book was good too, but the movie, oh man, yeah, just like it was great, man. Now MDV's got me second guessing if I was as aspirational as I wanted to be at the men's club. and then I finished up, dude. Everybody, we had like 50 guys, shirts off, fucking dude, it was all badass. And I was like, dude, I had a really good speech I wanted to give.
I'm mostly just busting your balls, man.
No, I like it. And then
Mostly.
I'm talking to one guy. I'm saving this one for next week. It's all about being the Ferrari. I've talked to Gabe. I've said this before, but I think in front of the guys, like, dude, we got to hit this hard. We got to be the Ferrari. We got to build our engine. I think people are just going to be fired up and ready to hit a hard workout with me on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day we do it.
Jason, you got to do it again. And it's 60 or bust, man. Next week when we record, we got to hear about the repeat effort, burned it down, 60 or bust. Dennis, what do you think you got on this?
I don't know. Is everyone going rower?
I feel like you all have
anyone going. Everyone's got to go rower.
I can do anything right now, but
because 60 on the bike wouldn't be that bad. I don't think on an assault bike it wouldn't be that bad. Because I think you can get 45 maybe 60 would be tough. You can get 45 cals in a minute. You can get like 50 cals in a minute if you're really cranking on the assault bike because you get exponential calories.
Right.
Like they just kind of keep going.
Yeah. Let's do both. Let's try both.
I know I can get 40 calories on the rower in 1 minute. I know I can do that. But I don't know if I can continue that past 30 seconds. I've always been an oddly good rower for being a small athlete. And the last 30 seconds are would really be the test.
Look at 42.
Oh, yeah, it's dead. It's dead, dude. Just dead.
Yeah, I'm
40
done.
at the minute, 42 at the 90
That's
seconds.
why I don't think
roll over.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people that get way over 50 plus. I think I can get 60. I'm confident I can get 60. Shit, maybe I could even get 70. I don't know.
You can get 60.
Nah, it's crazy talk now.
Yeah, 70 might be a little bit like
that's
that 4 minute.
That's the other fun part about this. Like, take video, post it, tag us, put your time in the comments, whether this is up on YouTube or on Spotify. I'd love to see what some people out there can do. There's always people out there. When Rogue did such a good job doing those like crazy one-off challenges that are just so specific for the specialist, when you can really see like what is out there, it's just some freaks of nature, like the dead hang challenge, like people hanging for like what? Like it was like
hours.
Yeah, we're going for an hour. Yeah.
Dude,
over an hour. Yeah.
It's like what? And clearly it's someone that like, he can hang for an hour, but like, he probably can't deadlift 135, but like there's something really cool about seeing what is possible, not from like a CrossFit athlete that's trying to be good at everything, but literally like specialist. I love that they do that stuff. So this could be a fun
that
version.
one where you had to grab onto a plate.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That one was cool. They just did 24 hours of rowing.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Dude, that's a long ass time to row, man. I've rowed for a long time. I don't really want to row for 24 hours. That sounds like
90 seconds is too long.
90 seconds is gonna be too long.
30 seconds.
Hey, what are we calling these end of the episode things, Gabe?
I'll come up with a name.
Okay.
But for now, it'll just be the weekly challenge.
So just to confirm, 90 seconds.
90
max
seconds.
output on Concept 2 rower or assault bike or echo bike or any kind of bike that counts your calories. Are you going off of the clock on the rower or are you going off the clock?
The rower.
So you set the 90-second countdown on the clock.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you just use like a regular clock, then you look at your score and you might be. It's just not as accurate, right? You can just set it.
Yeah, that's the most accurate. To set it from 90 seconds counting down to 0.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I'm already oddly excited about this for tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's
Gabe,
terrifying, dude.
Gabe,
That's
there's no doubt
test.
in my mind that you're going to get over 50. There's no doubt. Like, there's no way you're not going to. Bro, it's like you telling me there's no doubt you're going to get 20 miles.
That's even worse pressure, Gabe, because you know how bad that's going to hurt, even for 50 calories in that time period. That's going to hurt.
And it's going to hurt even worse if I get 48 and I have to talk about it next week.
You won't get 48. You won't get 48.
Oh man. Well, gentlemen, as per usual, these episodes are always a lot of fun. The last one with the guy at the gym with the old man. I told Ava about it and she just like she goes, yeah.
That's a you problem for telling your daughter about that. That's not a me problem, bro.
No, because I walk out of the podcast room and I'm like kind of laughing. She's like, "What's so funny?" I was like, "Dude, me and MDV and the guys were kind of riffing about old men and blow drying in the locker room." She's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well." I just kind of like, well, what
Since
do
you
mean?
asked.
The other thing about Globo gyms that kind of grinds my gears is that no matter, and I don't know if we talked about this last episode, I can't remember, but no matter how many freaking people are at the gym, you will always have a locker that somebody is right next to you when you're changing. Like it just is like the gods of the locker room. You have your lock on one locker. There's no other locks around. And then the dude who walks in with the towel on from the shower to get changed is automatically in the locker next to you. It's just like the fate of the gods in the
bumping
gym.
asses.
Yeah, dude. And like, come on, you're hitting my elbow, bro. Like, get away from me.
Well, if you haven't gone back and checked out the other episode with these guys, make sure to do so you hear about all the gym talk, the locker room talk, and whatever else we were talking about fitness and 2025. So I hope you and your family's doing well. Keep training hard. Keep getting after it. Gentlemen, appreciate you guys, and see you again for the next one.